Hi, it's Russ from ProTools Expert, and I've got myself a copy of the Eiosis AIR EQ designed by Fabrice Gabriel. Now, this was launched quite a long time ago in terms of it announced, and it's only recently been shipped. It was long awaited, and I don't think that Fabrice has let us down. If you don't know who Fabrice is, he's the guru and brains behind many of the Slate plugins as well. So he really is into getting the sound right on things. So I'm going to give you a show and tell of the whole plugin and show you why people are so excited about this and what it brings to the party that others don't. And I think when it comes to plugins these days, that's some of what we're looking for. We're either looking for a plugin that does something better than the others do it, and it's the same plugin like an 1176, or something completely different like Revoice Pro or Drum Leveler or things like that, or stuff from Synaptic. So there's so many plugins out there that you've got to make a good one these days to really make a difference. And so the hope was that Fabrice wasn't going to disappoint, and he hasn't. So this is an EQ that could be used in mixing or mastering, and it's stereo or M&S as well. And we'll look at that in a while. And it gives you multiple bands, and you can see those on the screen now. In a sense, there's 5 center bands, and then there's 2 outer bands, and then there's a low cut and a high cut as well. So there's quite a lot in there. And also, they're all very variable, so no band is stuck where it has to be. So I'll show you that in a second. So let's go top to bottom and have some kind of order to this review. The first thing is you have your presets here at the top, and they're helpfully broken up into different kinds. So there's instrument stuff, then there's mixing and mastering and track EQs as well, and you can save up there. Then we have an A and B, so you can A and B your test. Then we have the different settings here for the whole plugin, which you can go through. One of the nice things is you can see stuff as notes instead of frequencies. Then you can hide or show the display here, which displays a number of things, and that includes, it displays the EQ and the analyzer. And if I turn this track on for a sec, I'll just show that. You can turn the meters on and off. And the nice thing as well is this EQ curve. Once you start doing the EQ, it will show you the curve of the entire EQ rather than just the different bands. So if you start moving stuff about, so you gain that one up there and change the Q of it a bit, push it up like that, you can see the curve in there. Now if we turn that off, that's been made up by that, and it's been made up by this. If we put that in as well, so you can see the entire curve that you're putting in. Then we have the actual EQ itself. Now this is where it gets quite exciting. So what I'm going to do first, I'm just going to put that back to the default settings. I'm going to go to mastering. Now the cool thing is as well, when you save presets, you can change these words. You can actually name these to things that are meaningful to you. So they've said low, clean, sub bass, bass, density. So we could, if we wanted to, we could go, so density, we could turn that to balls or something. We could say there's boom for sub bass. And there we could say clarity, R, and presence, guts. So you could name that yourself. Now the other cool thing then is, and this is where people find it really cool, and I found it really cool straight away, is when you're doing a track, if you start to EQ a bit, and we'll just do a quick bit of EQ on here and I'll show you it. Obviously this is just for the demo, this will take a little longer. So I'm going to put some, where's the vocal on that track? It's your favorite one. Now what you can do then is you can use this thing called fire and water and neutral. And the good thing about it is you can either use it globally or per band. And so at the moment it's not working on that. For this reason, I right mouse click on any of these buttons, I go use global character. And now when I use the fire and water, you'll see that that's changing the shape of the band. It's either gentle or very steep. And if that works globally, for example, then we can change the whole character of the EQ mix when we're playing it through. So if I play you some, let's just do a quick bit of EQing here. Just going to be, could be anything that's good. So make sure this is global as well. And we're going to just push the frequency up a bit higher there. Push the gain up. And then we'll do another one here. Now when we then move this now, make sure that's also as well on, that's on global already anyway. And you'll see the great thing is you'll see the colour around these knobs starts to change. It goes red or blue. And as you see now, when I move it, it changes how those behave globally. So if you're doing a mix, what you can do, you could just check out how much of that character you want in the whole of the mix. So
it's your favorite one.
That's much smoother.
And you tap your foot along.
The second thing you do then is add strength to it, so we can have more or less. So if we push that in, depending on whether these are set to have the strength as well, that includes strength, that includes strength, and that includes strength. So they've all got strength on already. Now if we play this,
it's your favorite one. And you tap your foot along just like you did. You may not open.
now what I'm doing is I'm just doing this pretty harsh on purpose so you can hear the difference.
It's your favorite one.
Now what I tend to do, I've been using this, and what I tend to do is I set it at neutral and I set it at 100% and I get the EQ I want, and then I start to push the strength and the characters to see what difference they're going to make. And it's remarkable how often you might be off slightly and how pushing either the character or the strength can make a big difference. And doing that across a whole mix, for example, can be really useful. For mastering engineers, that is very useful. The sound of it is very good as well. And as I say, we have a low pass and a high pass. Now, the other thing I love about it, there's a few things I do love about it. One is the character and strength buttons, that they can be both global and they can be both individual. The second thing I like is that all the bands are global. What I mean by that is this band isn't fixed in any one position. Sometimes this would be just mid-range. I can move that from 30 down to 10, and all of them work the same. Of course, apart from the high and low pass filters. Now, the high and low pass filters as well are 6 or 12 dB. So if we put one of those in now, so the kind of very steep. Now, this is very useful as well. The last time I saw this was on another plugin which I like a lot, which has filters that have this steep Q. That steep Q is very useful if you're doing things like you're trying to get a kick drum out of a snare drum and it's got some low end energy, and sometimes what you do is you try and get a filter in there to clean out the bottom end, but in doing so you lose some of the grunt from the snare drum, some of the real thwap out of the snare drum. But if you push the Q hard, it means that then what you can do, depending on what, if you got it on like the 12 setting, it means you could push this hard and you can have a steep drop right below a boost. So that's very nice. And it's the same also here at the top. So if we go to the top and we push the Q on the top, we could do things like we could boost the cymbals in a set of overheads, but at the same time we could take some of the jangle and clang away from above it. So having that frequency and that steep Q is very helpful. So that's nice as well. So it's really been well thought about. So we have an in and out gain as well.
It's your favorite one.
So you don't get clipping.
And you tap your foot along.
We also then have M and S, which means that we can EQ the sides different to the mid, and that's good. If you've got a vocal lost in a mix, then that can be a lifesaver sometimes when we've been sent a mix and you're mastering it, you're trying to get a vocal or a guitar, for example, up out of the mix, and that can be very helpful further on in the track. So if we go further down this track when it's really starting to kick off.
You're still here.
So we can M and S this.
I know you're with
Solo the mid.
me. I know you love me. You're still here. You never left my side. You've been here all the while, wanting to talk with me.
You see, we've lifted that vocal just by using M and S there.
And you're still here. You're still here. I know you hear me. I know you're with me. I know you love.
So you have M and S and you have left and right as well. Well worth downloading this, well worth trying it out. I think it's a fantastic EQ. I like Fabrice anyway, but even if I didn't like him, which would be highly unlikely, I'd still give this editor's choice. It's a great EQ for mastering engineers in particular, and it brings a lot to the party that other EQs don't do, especially, as I say, the character and the strength controls. Very useful, especially when you start using them globally across a mix, and you just want to start touching the needle, as Dave Pensado often says, and just moving a whole lot up or down a bit, or changing the shape of it. And I've used it a couple of times on mixes and found that this character in particular globally across a mix can make a hell of a difference. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.